Parang? Sorry.
Small Claire. Just up, get up. Ren's not camera shy enough. She loved it.
What about Granny driving in with the Ellen? Did you bring the video out?
Too late. That's just too fast.
This wasn't even built the last time. I know this part was built the last time she ever did.
Remember the dirt roads we took up in the Drakensberg? Remember the dirt roads we took up in the Drakensberg?
Yeah.
Stephen online because if we're going to the crocodile farm, we better get cracking.
Claire can't go.
I know, mother, but we're going to be back by 3 to pick her up. pick you and her up for the dancing. Yeah,
I should try and film it without this. Those two big guys on the bank there, they must be fairly old. It's low enough, but... Not sure I'd be the guy who's going to walk across that bridge. Boy, there's another one. Off the top there.
Got him.
elves and fairies. Okay. Now there are three like this. This is for the little children. Is to write. The little children,
Yes,
your grandchildren,
yes.
is the school.
Ivo.
Ivo, yeah. For the school, for the writing. So you
All your grandchildren
I'll
are
get it tomorrow.
Okay, so you give them tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. And tell them thank you very much for today.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Must be a great
It's Christmas around here, but I've never had a thing.
I'm not done.
I don't have it anymore. It's gone.
It's gone, Esleen. It's gone.
Highball.
It's gone.
Yeah, highball it right back to Esleen.
It's gone.
You're on your ear there. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, the
It's funny, you remember that also weeks old.
I am wonderful, love. Thank you.
How do you feel?
Ah!
You've lost things before doing that.
Yeah, don't put it anywhere where you'll lose it, Esleen. And Milton will find it and he'll keep it.
Oh, thanks very much.
Oh, there. Thank you. Thank you.
God.
Is it yours or ours?
Mine.
Am I?
How you have a herb
Is it-
garden?
Is it going?
Is that from Miranda?
Yep.
No, it's from Stephen.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, we've got a house to have a herb garden.
Where do you think I live in Australia, Greg?
Brendan, quick, light a couple of cigarettes up.
Oh.
We're getting our gifts photographed. Video.
Oh, my other gift, how to play golf.
Where'd you get the neck thing?
Where is the next thing? Oh, that's next thing. It's a secret pillow.
Hazel, where are you?
You love.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
boy, that's your
Come on, Peter, jump up and take a few swipes that way.
I think I know which one I like. I like all of them. I mean, definitely, I think I'm sorry.
Peter, we've got 80 tonne of sandstone in my place. That we acquired. You all right? 80 tonne sandstone.
Oh wait, it's not on auto now. How did you put it on auto, Stephen? Oh, that. It doesn't, it's gone all funny again. Stephen?
What is it, sweetie?
It's not doing anything now.
No, but this one here is.
There we go.
Cheers.
No, come on, Hazel, walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
Walk the
No, I
walk,
won't walk that way. I'll walk this
walk.
way.
Not yet.
We don't want anything incriminating.
Very nice, Canadian girl.
There we go.
I don't know what's
Cheers.
going on here.
Cheers.
Now tell me who's the clown now?
Not me.
But-
The only Canadian in the room. Turn that little button off now, young man.
Stephen, I don't understand how come. Oh, there we go. Okay, Aidan, do the pose. That's a cool one. Hold on, let me just focus. Okay, look here.
Actually, I think you're quite a camera hog, Hazel.
Yeah, well, enough now. Off
Push
you
it
go.
out there.
Off you go. Tally ho.
Do you want me to sing a few songs?
Oh boy.
You beautiful niece. What is she? She's beautiful. Smile, Claire. Don't show anybody in America me riding around.
Where you go, Peter?
No, I figured it was easier to go straight and then get out and to turn out.
Before this traffic.
Oh, that's the nice thing to say about your grandmother.
I don't mean it like that. I mean, you can give her advice. You want shadow?
I've got the ones worth all the money hidden in the corners.
Here we have chateau.
Chateau Lego.
Steve?
No, that's what they call it.
Ah, that's what my friend called it, yeah. The bad about their jerky, so you've got to finish it all off.
No, that's really right.
Yeah.
If you get make some Australia.
Yeah, we're built up.
We'll just make it from the corner jerky, okay? It's
No,
really
we'll put. You remember all those
Really
places
big
we went and tasted jerky? The only one that you really liked was made by South Africans.
I don't care.
Yeah, it's gonna start over.
This is what most towns looked like when I was growing up.
What, throughout South Africa?
Well, the country towns, yeah.
This is what every time was like weekends growing up.
Certainly when I went to Zululand on those camping trips.
Wow.
Well, it's the same furniture as Princess's.
They can keep up with them. I think that's quite amazing, really. 20 minutes. They can keep up with their baby, with their parents. 20 minutes after they have been born. And here we have two unusual specimens walking along the street. You get them from all over the world, really.
Oh, those two-legged things, yeah.
Oh, here's the, are those, what about they say?
Blessbach.
Blessbach.
Yeah, I don't think their English is good enough to...
You wouldn't have seen those in the park, Stephen.
You didn't get eaten by a giraffe or anything? No. Okay. Did you get right down to the river? Oh, fantastic.
Look at them having a run there, Ava. Look at them having a run there. Can you see?
Oh, that's good.
Oh, they're going behind the
you see
tree.
that?
They're going to come on the other side of the tree there.
Yeah, I got them.
The one's just actually stopped and sort of looking at us now hiding.
Germany somewhere. But I don't know where. But I don't think they realise that the emphasis of this place is the talks and the walks. That's the whole point. They could be in any game reserve in South Africa.
Yeah.
And if they're looking for animals, this is not great. They could go to much better places. Just to give you an idea, Santwana has just sort of disappeared over there, right? There's Santwana. There's Rorkestrip. That mountain over there is called Shian. On the other side is Rorkestrip. And that's, so you'll go to Santwana tomorrow morning, I think, or Thursday morning, and then you'll do Rorkestrip in the afternoon. That mountain is either called Oscarberg, after the king of Sweden, or the Zulu name for it is Shiani. And then down here, we're going to stop at the top. No, we won't go right down. We can go for a walk tomorrow sometime. We get to survive, and they were all on horseback. There were a lot of guys who survived the battle, but then when they were running away. Yeah, if I can just, if you'd like to just kind of stand over. And Codwell was a guy who always did the thing coming here. He had the state, he was a very good bushman, and he had a state on something on it. So that is just right across the river, and he was actually on the Natal bank, because this was Natal, that was Zululand. This side of the Buffalo was Natal, it was the British colony of Natal. That side was the independent sovereignty of Zululand. So when Chelmsford decided to cross the Buffalo, that's when he was invading Zululand. Okay? Codwell had got his horse onto the other side, and he saw Melvin and colour. So he rode his horse upstream a bit to compensate for the current. And now you must remember it was January, so this river was a hell of a lot higher even than it is now, because December, January is our rainy period here. And he rode his horse a little bit upstream and then plunged his horse in. They were buried here. That is the original gravestone. And this property that David now owns was made up originally of 4 or 5 farms. And according to David, the main reason his dad bought in some corporation roadworks department in Freyheit or Dundee or somewhere. And so Peter Rattray, who has this just out in the open felt, they had just stopped for a couple of minutes, and he was killed by. They were surprised, almost sort of ambushed by a small party of Zulus. But that's a wonderful story. He was shot. Well, no, he was it Assegai? Yeah. But they were very proud that all of the wounds were in the front of his body. There were no wounds on his back, which of course was the big thing. Very ugly. Very ugly, but very good. The woodworking in Carlisle are very good. It's just like my muscles in it. It's studying it. Yeah.
Of this country, because it describes these heady events that were to shape the destiny of our beloved country. The agreement was drawn up and took the form of a treaty to which Dingle
at this hillside, which the Zulus called Ngesa, lived one of the great chiefs of Zululand. His name was Sikhayo Kakongo of the Kungebe people, and he happened to be the Zulu king's best friend, and his sons had been involved in a border incident which had taken place in the July of 1878, which the British had said was partly the cause of the war.
A great cattle kraal, they went across the little Mkumbane stream and up onto the slopes of the hill of execution. It must have been a melancholy moment when they stumbled upon the remains of Peter Tip and Potty. The bodies had been disemboweled. As a consequence, they had dried, and some of them were therefore recognizable. The impaling sticks in some instances were still sticking out of their skeletons, leaving little doubt as to the fate that they'd suffered. Pretoria claim to the Zulu throne. The Zulu system of succession is complicated. African soil. The Battle of Ndonda Kuzuka, which was fought on the 2nd of December 1856. This conflict left Mbuyazi and between 20 and 30,000 of his supporters dead on the slopes of that Ndonda Kuzuka mountain. The upshot of this was that Cetshwayo was the obvious heir apparent to the Zulu throne, despite claims made by other sons of Mfwebe who were living in a state of exile outside the Zulu territory.
There's also an opportunity for you to go to the bathroom if you need that.
The ultimatum would be a complicated document, but the thrust of it would be that the Zulus would have to disband. Why don't we send a message to Ulundi, inviting the Zulus, if they are interested, and of course they will be, in learning the findings of that long-awaited boundary commission DA, and we will make public those findings. Of course the Zulus were interested. And that's
the beginning of an awful period of 27 years of hardship, which began the Zulu War and ended in the rebellion in 1906. So, it's, you know, the British was going to separate out the various parts of that. Ngaka kwaisi, ngaka kwaisi, ngaka kwaisi. a roar of inhumanity rises up behind the British, and the Zulus come forward, nearer and nearer, closer and closer. Behind the British they come, their war songs rising up to a crescendo, and suddenly all the Zulus realize that the moment has come. The great national war cry of the Zulu state. 16,000 voices lock, and as one man, they cry out, Usuthu! 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 The British said it sounded like a human steam train coming across the plain here, and they began running for their lives. There is no dishonor in this. They were simply trying to make their way to the camp as quickly as they could. And the story of how the British fell back across this field into their camp is told for you in silence, with greater eloquence than I could ever praise, by these piles of white stone. These are the graves of British soldiers. They are spread out over the battlefield. The men were buried where they fell. And you can see that most of them are in the camp. But if you cast your eye out first, amongst the grass and the stones which litter this field, you will see little splashes of white wherever you look. Those poor men running up the ridge towards the camp, being pursued by the Zulus, they had the awful experience of watching their comrades running up the...
And then the first white settler arrived here in around 1849, 1850. Here on this little shelf of rock, which is not terribly wide, but it's nice and level, and it used to fall sheer all the way along the front. If you look just behind us, to the edge of this little field, right here, you can see the edge of the field. Over the years, the missionaries have broken away what was a very sheer drop. It used to fall 4 foot sheer all the way along the front. You can still see it, a few places where the rock is exposed. When it broke through, there was the weakness. They drove the soldiers back across that way. This was now a Zulu position. Just doing a recap. Come with me. This was a doorway. This was where Joseph Williams and William Horrigan died. Here. The rest had got through. This room was occupied by one Private Alfred Henry Hook from Monmouth. He left an account of this battle. He wrote it in 1905. It was the year that he died. He died of consumption. It was considered a poor man's disease. And of course he was a poor man. Despite having won the Victoria Cross for valor, he died in abject poverty. But he, on his deathbed, he wrote an account of this battle. It was published as an obituary to him in 1905 in the All Services magazine of that year. And he remembered how he'd been placed in the last of these little cubby holes facing the conical hill of the Oscarberg. He'd been given a rifle and a sack of ammunition. All about him were men groaning with fever as they barricaded in the doorway. The side walls of the building were brick. They could loophole the side walls. So they completely sealed him in here. It grew dark, he couldn't see. Then he heard the pickaxe. As it broke through, it led the pitch out here, all around the building, howling, baying for blood. Zulu riflemen had ensconced themselves on that ledge of stone. And they were peppering this post with a wildly inaccurate, but nonetheless disconcerting rifle fire. And I'm sure Charlie will verify the greatest weakness of this post from a military point of view is the proximity of that high ground. Even without a cannon. A rifle from that... And look, now, realizing that as they are 8 foot off the ground, they're going to need help to get these men to the ground below them. Shouts again at his mates, telling them that they've got sick and injured men. And the fire is right behind them, and the Zulus, no doubt, are just behind the fire.
Thank you very much. Okay. Kubaga.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright.
by Zulu people. Somewhat and less strategic. Canada's rich in oil. No, they were business. James O. McKenzie.